Absolute value. What the absolute value refers to is any number being replaced with a positive number. It's typically looking at, if you're talking about like something in physics, it's typically looking at a distance between two numbers. It's going to be always a positive value. If I'm talking about like a distance that I've traveled, regardless of which way I've traveled, I have traveled a distance. So it's going to be a positive number, and that's the most common example of absolute value. But really all you need to think of is anything inside these absolute value brackets becomes positive, regardless of what the answer is. Now that's going to get a little bit tricky when we're solving for things because you can have like an x be a negative or a positive number, in which case it's going to give the same solution, but we'll get to that in a second. The absolute value of a positive number then is positive, and the absolute value of a negative number is positive. It's just looking at the positive value in both cases. So by definition, if x is equal to or greater than 0, then the absolute value of x is equal to x. If x is equal to if x is less than 0, then the absolute value of x is negative x. Okay, that's a little bit confusing to think of. I would really focus on this, and I'll show you what I mean. If we're solving this, let's push that down. So example 3 is done in the same method as example 2. What we need to think of is there's actually going to be two solutions to this. So we have to think of two solutions. We have to think of x minus 2 is equal to 3, or x minus 2 equals negative 3. Because if x minus 2 equals negative 3 up here, what's actually going to be the positive value? So negative 3 is going to become positive 3. So this is simple enough to solve. We get x equals 5 or x equals negative 1. This is the one that a lot of people forget about. This solution right here is less intuitive because you forget that if x minus 2 equals negative 3, well, negative 3 is within the absolute value brackets, and therefore it's equal to 3. Example 3 is done in the same way as this. I just want you to try that one on your own. We'll just scroll down and look at it. It's exactly the same setup. We're going to have two solutions. I want you to give that a go. Example 3, sorry, that was example 2, it should have said. Example 3 is a little bit different. Now for this one, we still have two cases to consider, but we're going to have x minus 3 equals 2x, or x minus 3 equals negative 2x. Again, negative 2x within these brackets would become positive 2x and give us that solution that we need. These are, again, simple formulas to rearrange. I'm not looking for you guys to do anything too difficult here. I want you to just understand the concept. So when we look at this, we've got x equals negative 3. If you move that x over, 2 minus 1 is negative, there was 1, and then we get negative 3. This one's a two-stepper. It's a lot more difficult. That's going to be negative 3 equals negative 3x, and then we get x equals 1. All right. Now, this solution, or this question here, it's a lot harder than what it looks. What you have to consider is actually three cases. Now, I'm going to give you the answer. There's actually no solution to this. You have to think of three cases, though, as to why there's no solution. Okay? What I want you to do, and you can look it up online if you really want to, it's not going to help you much. I want you to prove why there's no solution. Okay? Now, there's solutions online that you could look at, but I really think that they're more confusing. As long as I understand what you're getting at, I would accept your answer as long as it mathematically makes sense. All right.